Hello, everyone. My name is Om Surad, and I am the host in this new podcast series. Our podcast is going to feature 11 different episodes in various sports from around the world. So you can find our podcast on YouTube and on its Instagram page, which will promote the podcast and spread information about it. For our first episode, we are going to be talking about sports news and to give you all information to keep it all up to date. I hope you enjoy. We're going to kick today's episode off by talking about what's possibly the biggest development in soccer right now. Since most of you all know, the coronavirus pandemic has forced many sports to either cancel or postpone these big events. For example, in soccer, the UEFA Champions League, which is the annual tournament, comes around once a year, has been postponed to a later date due to not being able to play due to the virus. However, it wasn't soccer as usual in Germany, but games were finally being played on Saturday. Germany's Bundesliga brought back high-profile sporting competition during the coronavirus pandemic. While fans weren't allowed, which was the most obvious difference to normal match days, the Bundesliga's 6 games no doubt boosted the morale between both players and the people watching at home. I think everyone is ready for sports to come back on. The Bundesliga is the first major European soccer division to return to action and start its games. This perhaps could be a template in some ways for how American sports leagues and other sports leagues around the world to proceed. In Germany's top league, it usually attracts an average of 43,000 people every game, but these matches were forced to be played behind closed doors, just the players from both teams, due to the coronavirus pandemic, which is affecting most of us right now. Now that we've talked about Germany starting its games up a little bit, let's get into the scores. So we know that Germany's Bundesliga have played a total of 6 games, so first up, RB Leipzig tied with Freiburg. The score was 1-1. For the second game, Borussia Dortmund beat Schalke and the score was 4-0. The third game was Cologne and Mainz and the score was tied 2-2. For the fourth game, it was Hoffenheim and Hertha beat Hoffenheim 3-0. For the fifth game, it was Frankfurt and Gladbach beat them 3-1. And for the last game, it was Bayern Munich versus Union Berlin, and Bayern Munich beat them 2-0. So those are just the scores for the first 6 games that have been played right now. The first goal in any game came from Borussia Dortmund, and the most likely contender was Erling Haaland. The 19-year-old deflected Thorgan Hazard's cross with his left foot in the 29th minute as Dortmund thrashed Schalke 4-0 to move only within a point of Bayern Munich, the leader in the group. If you watched the game, you could see that when the medical staff attended to Haaland in the second half, they all wore masks. So this could be the new normal that we have to get used to in soccer, not only soccer, but sports around the world. We're going to have to take extra precautions in order to stay safe now. But despite the game proceeding as the Bundesliga seeks to complete the season, things could change at any moment. If players test positive for the virus, matches will be cancelled. It happened in League's second tier when 2 Dynamo players tested positive, which prompted Sunday's clash against Hanover to be scrapped. So what this means is that everyone's going to have to start taking precautions in order to stay safe, and until we can fully start all sports again, to go back to the way that it used to be. Now that we've talked about Germany's league starting some of its games again, let's get into some transfer gossip. To start off, we have Juventus and Manchester United who are ready to battle it out in the race to sign Wolves star Raul Jimenez this summer. So to get into it, the Serie A champions are set to inquire about the availability of the Mexico international once the transfer window reopens. The Wolves are reportedly open to selling him, Raul Jimenez, who joined the club from Benfica in June of 2018. United are interested in bringing in Raul Jimenez as a long-term replacement for on-loan striker Odin Igalo, who is set to return to the Chinese Super League when his deal expires next month. After the 19-year-old Erling Haaland's amazing return to the Bundesliga, it has fired up the rumor mill, especially when it comes to Barcelona and Real Madrid. But where would he fit best in the Liga? He is right now linked with either of the teams, and he looks like he would be able to play with any of them due to the fact that while playing at Dortmund, he has been easily one of their best players. Going into the Champions League, he has changed the way they played and caused their team to be a force to be reckoned with. Another transfer rumor that has been going on is Barcelona having agreed to swap deal with Juventus. They're going to be swapping Miralem Pjanic and with Barcelona's right back Nelson Semedo. And the two clubs are said to agree to deal in principle for the player exchange. The deal is also said to have included a $25 million payment from Juventus to Barcelona. Sports has reported that Pjanic has already agreed to the deal with Barcelona, with the move now resting on Semedo to finalize a contract with Juventus. The right back's agent, Jorge Mendes, has already laid the foundations of what should be the final agreement of the player's contract, with the player set to be joining the Italian side. Barcelona legend Xavi said that Liverpool forward Sadio Mane and Arsenal striker Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would not be a good fit at the Spanish club. Xavi, who was offered a chance to return to Barcelona as a manager in January, said that the Premier League star's style of play would not be compatible with La Liga leaders. He says, Mane and Aubameyang can kill you in open space, but Barcelona needs players who know how to move the ball in small spaces. I'm thinking about a player who would be able to adapt to Barcelona, and it's not easy to find one. Samuel Eto'o was perfect, as is Luis Suarez right now. Xavi also hopes that PSG star Neymar would return to the club after the Brazilian international left for a world record of $222 million in 2017 to join the French club PSG. I think both him and many fans around the world would love to see Neymar return back to Barcelona with the likes of Messi and Suarez so they could all play together once again. At their time, they're one of the top three, the trios in the soccer world. If you guys have stayed till this point, I just want to say thank you for listening, and that is going to be the end of our podcast, our first episode, which talks about soccer news. You can come in next week to listen about our next second episode, which is going to be talking about basketball and any current news that is going on there. So make sure to look at our podcast and listen to it on YouTube or try to find it on Instagram. Thank you for listening, and I'd love to see you again next time.